The anime adaptation of Tokyo Ghoul has not had an easy time over its lifetime. Season 1, back in 2014, was very well received, garnering a pretty big fan base and being considered one of the big hype anime of that season. While you did end up having several manga fans who weren't, that keen on it. They felt it missed some of the aspects that made the manga great. Then Season 2 happened in winter of 2015, and it was pretty much well hated. Season 2 was boring, dull, uninteresting. It had an anime-only plot, which obviously picked up the manga fans. And then when that anime-only plot really couldn't keep anyone interested, it was pretty much doomed for the Tokyo Ghoul anime. However, it was hard to not find people who weren't interested in Re. A lot of people felt like this could be the time to fix things, you'd have a new story and all that stuff, and I myself, even though I do share the same sentiments about Season 1 and 2 as most people, I was pretty interested to see where the Re adaptation would go. Could the studio redeem itself for its previous failures? And, well, most people actually liked Re, and a lot of anime-onlys felt that the story was compelling and interesting. Manga fans liked that it was a much more faithful adaptation, and I am just kind of sitting here, having just finished the final episode not long ago. I'm kind of, to put it simply, I spent 12 episodes waiting for Tokyo Ghoul Re to get going, and I'm still waiting. So, I'm not all that high on the series, which sucks, because there is a lot of stuff to like here, which let's go over now, starting off with our plot. Tokyo Ghoul Re takes place 2 years after the events of Season 2, or maybe it's 2 years after the events of the manga, or maybe it's 2 years after, I don't know, Coachella, whatever the fuck you want. They barely go into it themselves. And essentially, Kaneki, who is now basically working for the police with a new brainwashed created personality called Heisei, he's now leading his own team of artificially created half-human, half-ghouls called Quinxes as they go around fighting ghouls and basically trying to keep the normal human populace safe. Now, right then and there, you get kind of a mixed bag sounding plot. The stuff with Kaneki having a messed up mind could be interesting. The police procedural stuff could be boring. And so going into this, well, you kind of wonder where it's going to go. And I'll say this much. When it does deal with Heisei's split personality, as he tries to sort of sort out what is Kaneki, that stuff is interesting, I guess. And the police procedural stuff isn't as bad as I was expecting. What really saves the police procedural stuff is Kaneki's group of sidekicks, even though they all have very standard personalities for this sort of thing, I thought were likable and interesting enough to keep me invested in them. And special shoutouts has to go to Shiraz, who is freaking awesome. I thought this guy was going to be like really annoying and unpleasant at first, but he's actually really cool and a likable character. God, if you saw episode 12, you know why this becomes somewhat problematic. I didn't really understand what the deal is with like his sister who's got a tree going out of his head, but I kept sitting there waiting. I'm sure we're going to get to that sooner or later. And that is kind of everything about this show. Wait, no. We got two other positives. One is, even though I don't overly care about the police aspect of it, it was kind of interesting learning how the police function in this world, what sort of being ghoul killers means, how this kind of affects people's psyches, some of the people you have to employ because maybe they're evil but they're good at killing ghouls. And the other thing is, I think the action is a big step up from the other two seasons. The action in the other two seasons felt very shonen-y, and it wasn't super memorable. However, I really enjoyed the fight scenes in this season as, A, they felt like they were multiple episodes long, but it felt like big one continuous scene, and also the show really draws from its sort of survivalist horror aspects, which I thought was neat. I know a lot of people get mad when you call Tokyo Ghoul a horror show. They're like, it's a character study about the human condition. it still has elements of it, and I felt that was well served here. A lot of the fights are very clean, very crisp. A lot of the ways the ghouls use their weapons that I think are kind of stupid, I thought was actually really cool. And you know what? I like that they would do this thing where ghoul investigators would get like moments of personality. So you wonder, will this guy live? Will he die? Who's going to make it? Who's not? Do you care about these people? Not really. But it at least keeps you invested in just kind of standard-y type stuff. Also, special shout-outs to one very special character death, like second to last episode. You all know what I'm talking about if you saw it. It was fucking amazing, even if it's a little weird and out of place. Also, special shout-outs to my boy Suzuya, who was just a lot of fun in this. Okay, now that we've done positives, yeah, no, I ultimately do not like this adaptation. Because here's the thing. As interesting as the new characters are, as cool as it is to sort of see these other fight scenes, they don't really do much as terms of what is the overall narrative of Tokyo Ghoul about. This just felt like 12 episodes of a weird distraction from what the show is actually about. What makes Tokyo Ghoul interesting is this sort of world of gray as human beings must navigate what life is like with ghouls, and as ghouls have to sort out what it means to be good and evil for them in a world where they have to live off humans. The thing is, when you're not telling that from the perspective of the ghouls, you kind of lose a lot of it. There's not a lot of time dedicated to the concept of ghouls who are actually good people, because, well, when you do get into ghoul stuff, it's involving Shu, who was technically a villain, and, well, not really much else. We go to this weird human auction, and then we go up against Shu's people, and that's really all there is to it. At no point did I ever feel we were going into what is the moral implications of this. At no point did I ever feel like I'm supposed to care about the ghouls on screen. At no point did I ever feel like there's a moral conundrum going on. And that's supposed to be the heart and soul of Tokyo Ghoul, this aspect of what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be good? What does it mean to be bad? All of that's just kind of abandoned in this. And yes, you have ghoul investigators who are very clearly meant to be that idea of, oh, who's really the monster? But it's done in such a way that feels just so spoon-fed. It doesn't have any of the subtlety or sort of interest that the first season had. And on top of that, the show seems to go out of its way to kind of just disregard stuff that should, in theory, be able to help it from the previous seasons. Heisei and Kaneki are constantly in conflict as to who they really are. That's just kind of brought up once in a while. It's not really a main thing throughout. Now, you do sort of see it build, but it just kind of builds at random points, and I didn't really get a sense of where it was going. Now, some of you may say that that's the fact that we didn't really understand who Kaneki was after Season 1, because in Season 2, he's not really the focus. The focus is all this random crap, as Kaneki just does shit we don't really understand why he's doing in the first place. Well, that's a problem here, and the thing is, manga fans will then be like, well, you should have read the manga, where we went more into Kaneki's personality. Well, the simple fact of the matter is, I didn't read the manga, and as much as manga readers would like to be like, we make up the majority of the fan base, you make up the loyal part of the fan base. In reality, more people will watch the Tokyo Ghoul anime than will ever read the manga. And the thing is, when you are a television show, or an anime adaptation, depending on how you look at it, your job is to make the anime adaptation work, and to make it stand on its own 2 feet with its own narrative and storytelling points. You can't use a previous source material like a manga to fill in huge chunks of how a character is supposed to be or why we should care about things they do. I really didn't care about Heisei after a certain point in this because I had no real understanding of why he was so afraid of Kaneki, considering I don't even really know how to think of the personality difference. Okay, that last one's a little more on the personal side, but you get my point. And while we're on the subject, there's a lot of stuff that's brought up here that should have been important that wasn't. And I know I'm going to get into some minor spoilers here, but it's fucking important. Like, for instance, Kaneki walks into Toka's own coffee shop. He felt himself drawn to it and just instinctively went in there and just starts crying when he sees Toka. I thought this was a great scene, and I couldn't wait to see where it was going. Never gets brought up again. Like, none of the other guys he's with finds it weird that he just started crying in front of some random waitress. Like, just, it's never brought up again. Toka has 1.5 other scenes in the whole show, and that's about it. Hinami has now become a part of Aorgri, or however you pronounce that, and is like a security guard at a human auction, and, like, never goes anywhere. And it's sad because what happened to that idea of Toka, the girl who has to live in both worlds, and Hinami, this sort of symbol of this kind of innocence that is being warped by the world around her. All these things are abandoned for just a police procedural. These were the things I liked about Tokyo Ghoul. I liked that philosophical aspect. I liked seeing the ghoul world. I liked all these interesting things, and even though the season is entertaining, it doesn't really go into anything that makes Tokyo Ghoul feel like Tokyo Ghoul. And ultimately, when all's said and done, it just makes me feel like I just sat through something I don't care about. I don't, as much as I like Kaneki's new group, I don't care. I don't care about anything that really happens next because, well, the things that made people care are just not here anymore. Also, side note, why the fuck should I care about the owl? Like, literally, she just shows up in the last episode and is just like, behold, I'm unbeatable chick who can't just wear normal underwear because I'm special. But that's that. In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on Tokyo Ghoul Re. If you want to talk about the manga, fine. Just please keep in mind that it's not relevant when talking about a show. All that matters is the show. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and please don't shoot me for saying the manga fans aren't the most important fans in the world.